Look, I want to make this a celebratory podcast, but rumor has it Howard Webb is still trying to get a hold of Jared Gillett on the St. James's Park pitch. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name's Elliot. Block me on Twitter. Can't go yet. He's furiously calling down, trying to send him to the screen for something. But I'm sorry, it's 3 points for Arsenal, and oh boy, I think this is a litmus test for you. If you didn't love everything about this weekend, then the game is not for you, because this was a fantastic weekend of Premier League football, the best league in the world, at least on this weekend it was. And they tried to take it from us. They tried to make it difficult. It didn't matter, because our courageous and character-filled men won at St. James's Park to go 2 points back of Liverpool. We are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. I think it's fair to say that. The song says it, and songs never lie. A goal at the death scored by not only an Arsenal player, but also the King of Brazil. So a man who splits his time to both jobs and does both brilliantly. Look, this was as fun as it gets. Now, over on the Patreon, I did a Saturday instant reaction Schadenfreude pod, so that's there if you want to soak it up. I know a lot of people said, I'm not listening to that until Sunday. Fair play to you. I got myself off the hook there, thanks to Gabrielle. So that's good to know. We got probably the single best contribution to our podcast since we formed, from Tim from St. James's Park. There may have been a few cans downed, as the saying goes, but it led to a fantastic result, and he is downing water as we speak. So that tells you all you need to know. Just a joyous weekend. And we're going to do our best, I think, to view it through the lens of the joy, through the quality, through the character, through the performances, and through what it means for our season, and maybe less through the lens of what the Northwest Media Mafia is saying about it, and what the PGMOL had to do. Because you know what? On this occasion, we don't have to care, because the 3 points are on the board. And as I listened to Arne Slot criticizing his stupid player for attacking when he shouldn't have, and criticizing Ekatike for celebrating what is the most meaningless goal in history, getting himself banned from a game they wind up losing, and they're getting run through, and they're conceding late goals here and there and everywhere, and this time it's our late winner, maybe, just maybe, something has shifted just a little bit. So if you want to rewatch, I guarantee you will have it over on the Patreon this week. You will also have an instant reaction to the Olympiacos game and yesterday's highly emotional, entertaining instant reaction. But as always, we're just happy to have you here, happy to have you as a part of this, so that we can all celebrate the kind of weekend that makes you really enjoy doing this. And I think, given the also ran quality of this team over the last few seasons, sometimes we forget just how good it can feel. And boy, oh boy, did it feel good. And here to discuss how good it felt is Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hello there.
And Clive. Hello, Clive.
Yeah, hello.
On big weekends like this, I love to just sort of revel in the emotion and the enthusiasm. And Tim, I always love to get your take on how it felt from the away end at St. James's Park. They stick you up there in the gods. You posted a really fun social media video of you climbing all the stairs to get up there. It is one of those things when you've played so well and you feel you deserve it and you're not getting it. Those are some of the times I least look forward to talking about Arsenal, because no one wants to hear, oh, we deserved it or we were better. You know what I mean? No one wants to hear it, even when it's true. But when you play better and you win it, that's when it's at its best. So tell me the emotion of the moment, the emotions you went through at St. James's Park.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the stairs, it's 14 flights. Those of you who've been to the Emirates, it's literally double what you do to get to the upper tier at the Emirates. So it's a long way up, and in keeping with many things that happen at Newcastle, they bend the rules a bit. There is a Premier League rule that at least some of the away fans have to be pitch side, and the reason they do that is obviously it's better for atmosphere. And, if you're watching this on TV, you can see with the goal, right? It makes better TV. That's why they made that rule about away fans being pitch side, because when Gabriel scores that winner, what they want on TV is him leaping into the Arsenal fans, or the Arsenal fans visible in the background, rather than like Saliba and Gabriel getting the binoculars out and the telescopes out to see us in the upper tier. But Newcastle get away with that because they have some garbled explanation about how they can't segregate away fans on the way out, even with 14 flights of stairs. And really, you're right, Elliot. This just it felt about time in this fixture, given some of the recent history around it. Like, nothing really untoward happened last season. We just didn't play well, and we lost by the odd goal. But 2 seasons ago, I think we got a bit robbed there on their winning goal. And this seems to follow us a little bit at Newcastle, and you get that kind of same old Arsenal always cheating every time like someone sneezes or like one of their players commits a foul and they sing it, and it's just like, obviously that chant's been around for a few decades now, and it's quite irritating. And it's just one of those, as soon as the equaliser went in, Elliot, my attitude was exactly what you saw from Declan Rice. Marino goes to the corner to celebrate, and Declan Rice is like, no, there's time. And we knew there was going to be a lot of stoppage time as well. We knew, actually, was it 7 that was given? Because I was thinking it'd be more 9 or 10.
8.
8, yeah. I was thinking it would be towards double figures. So there was plenty of time to win the game, and the pattern of the game was set. And I was like, no, I want blood here. I want blood. And like the winner going in is one of the best and biggest kind of limbs I've ever been involved in, really. The last time I think we scored a last-minute winner away from home was away at Luton 2 seasons ago. I wasn't at that game personally, but Newcastle, there's a context around it. The trains were not good. There was a broken track between Doncaster and York, so we got delayed going in. Lots of people had cancellations, had to change plans. The train on the way back was not just standing only, but you got very familiar with what people had been eating during the day that you were standing near. There was a Newcastle.
Hopefully not a cheese and onion cob, Tim.
Well, it was actually quite funny because we kind of went into first class because we were like, this train's going to be declassified and no one's going to tell us to move, so we'll go and stand in first class. And there were a couple of Newcastle fans there who were very good value, to be fair, and one of them pulled out like a boiled egg and he was like, if we hadn't won this game, I wouldn't do this on a packed carriage. But he was like, since you're all Arsenal fans, I'm eating my boiled egg. And it was, a good crack and all of that. But yeah, just a ground. It's one of the grounds I would have chosen this to happen, I think. And a nice little moment on the way out where, at a very safe distance behind a very significant line of police and stewards, I got to do the Mikel Arteta, it must be the ball chant, to some very, very angry home fans. One very angry home fan tried to start on a friend of mine, and honestly, only dogs could hear him. It was so funny. And he was genuinely squeaking. It was just like fits of laughter stuff, and one of those why I don't wear colour. One of the many reasons I don't wear colours to away games, because you're walking back to the station concealing a bit of a smirk and under your breath just going ha ha. So it's good day.
Yeah, and your voice note will live in my mind for a very, very long time. I will say I'm surprised they were there to have a go at you, and they weren't all looking around the ground to find their shirts and put them back on. One of the best away grounds for large men taking their tops off who have no business taking their tops off. Clive, it's sometimes the case that there are, I want to say, rivalries between Premier League fan groups that don't translate to the pitch. But this is one that feels really ill-tempered. Just feels like there's a lot of bad feeling between these clubs at almost every level. And so it just feels so much better to get this over on them. And I just wanted to get your big picture take on like a place, I think we've lost 4 of our last 5 games there, where it's all the things that the stereotypes about Arsenal play into, but aren't who we are anymore, right? Don't like it up us, complain about the referees, can't get it done in the up north in the tough away fixtures and the big cauldron atmosphere, the character of champions. And there's a lot of demons you slay when you go do this, when you stand up to the physicality, when they wind up moaning about refs, which is also hilarious, by the way, when you come back from behind. I mean, the one thing we've been criticized for recently is not winning games when we've fallen behind. I think this is the latest we've come back to win in a very, very long time. So how important is this just in terms of slaying some dragons, some demons that I think have hung over us and that have been, criticisms that have been leveled at us as title contenders?
Yeah, so we get labelled, don't we? We get labelled as not liking it uppers. We get labelled as we're just not trusted.
I've been labelled as short, Clive,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they'll just say anything these days.
Yeah, we're just not trusted, right? So when we can't get it right. If we win well, we could have won by more. If we don't attack the best teams in the last decade. Well, we should have done. Do you know what I mean? And so you can't win. When we do beat those teams, we're not allowed to celebrate.
We're too soft or we're too violent.
Yeah, exactly. We're too
whichever way
soft
you
or
want to
too
cut it.
violent, and it's just like we think the referees are against us, and we watch things, and we're not stupid. We can see things even in this game. So yeah, I know I get caught up in that every now and again, if not all the time, but I'm trying to rinse myself a bit so I can see the games clearly. I must admit, this weekend was just a pleasure watching all the narratives reversing out the garage, trying to say, well, this is what I said last week. They needed to do this, mate. Every game is different. Every period of game is different. And every selection is different for a specific reason. How about understanding the game plan? And so, yeah, we needed this. And I saw Tim's drink, having his morning beers in the morning, and I was like jealous immediately because I didn't think he was going. And I was immediately jealous. I'm looking at that table with all the Morettis and the Camden Hells, and I'm thinking, those trips, they're just the best trips. If you win, they're the best trips. You have a great laugh on the way up. And but Tim also knows there are some places you go to, and no matter what you do, you just don't get the rubber to green. You don't. It feels like that, and you walk in. You think, I know it's going to be tough, and yet those guys still go. And I really do think the away fans are magnificent on that trip. Absolutely brilliant. And so, yeah, we had to do it on the pitch. And I do think the way we approached the game was really, really good. And I think there were times last season when we had opportunities to do something when Liverpool dropped points and we weren't tooled up to do so. And I don't think psychologically we were tooled up to do so neither. And we had dual front, with the Champions League, and I just don't think we were there. We weren't in the right condition. And so in this game, when you see us attack the game the way we did, you see the Pope saves, and you're thinking, okay, this is what I want to see from the team. As somebody that's locked into the environment, they've read the room appropriately, they know what's required of them. This was a day where excuses wouldn't be well received by many people because the opportunity was there, and this club is ready for this now. It's ready to take this opportunity. And so to see the team start like that really encouraged me massively. The first half was just magnificent. And I think if we'd have got that penalty early and won 3-0, I don't think it'd be as good as what we actually did. I think this game, the way it panned out, it answered questions that were lying around in people's minds who are non-Arsenal people. And the Arsenal people, let's be honest, we have these doubts deep in our stomachs. Can we do it? And so, yeah, I think the way it panned out was perfect. And even scoring the Gabriel Tottenham lookalike goal, the way he did it and leapt up. I mean, that's my favourite moment of last season. So to have it again this season was just really, really good. So I think we all love our team, right? And we all want to see the best in them. And we want to see them reach the promised land. But in our guts, we always wonder if we can. You get a moment like this, it almost revalidates your faith and belief and why you do what you do. And so if someone like Tim now is fresh back from a long trip, he's thinking, yeah, that's why I do it. I do it for this reason. That's why I do it. That's why I don't sleep. That's why I do rewatch. That's why I worry about what the manager said in the press conference and all the things that we go to around looking at our team, supporting our team. You and upsetting your families and not concentrating when they're talking to you and all these things. This is why you do it. This is why you do it. And it's a great day for all Arsenal people, without a doubt.
It's one you'll remember. I take your point about 3-0 probably doesn't do what this does. I mean, my cardiologist might disagree, but I mean, it is all the demons you want to slay. And I think, look, we have every right to complain about the way referee decisions cost us critical points in title races. And I don't need to recap all of them for you. Things we've never seen again. Hell, we saw some things we've never seen before in this game too. The towel thing? No, you can't have that towel, mate. Put it back. It's not your towel. Mate, it's not your towel. You can't have that towel. It's not your towel. What are these beach chairs at a fancy resort? You can't have a towel? What is this? But if you want to see the difference in mentality, look at Declan Rice directing Marino back to the center spot versus João Palhinha going nuts for an equalizer at home to Wolves. Like, there's levels to this, mate. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You get to say, Mikel can now say to them, look, they can't stop you. They can turn over obvious penalties. They can take the towel out of your hand. They can do this. They can't stop you. Joe Linton can can scissors Saka by the touchline 1 minute into the game and not get shown a card. They can't stop you. There is a way you can latch on to this psychologically that makes it feel like it's your season. Sometimes you need that. You need to slay the demon of it's never our season. Something's always going to get in our way to nothing's going to stop us. And, this is now 15 more set piece goals, I think corner kick goals, than anybody since 2023-24 season. 15 more. The next closest is 21, ironically, Spurs and Chelsea. We have 36. And for people that want to say, no open play goals, when Salah curls one in from 30 yards out, or when Haaland scores because he can't be stopped, how is that any different from Gabriel Magalhaes being unstoppable, too big, too strong, too determined, too brave? How is that different from Rice and Saka and Odegaard being able to stick it under the bar every time? These are still skill acts, physically impressive acts that come from our players being uniquely capable in these moments. And so much goodness to take from this. I think now we row back to the beginning a bit. And you just, the last point I'll make on this is Liverpool lost in heartbreaking fashion. For once, the last moments go for them. And I have to say, your defense is in trouble. And Nketiah is in the room. I mean, he should get a medal if we win this one. It's a huge moment from Eddie Nketiah, but Liverpool have been getting away with it, but they haven't had to confront that. Because if you say they've been getting away with it, it's just, you're Arsenal fans, sore loser Arsenal fan. They have been getting away with it. But they've been getting away with it, so they haven't had to confront it. Now they have to confront it. Now they got a little pressure. Now the fact that they can't lock the back door, that they keep getting pegged back, now that's an issue for them that they have to think about and confront. And suddenly Florian Wirtz, people are really looking at it. And suddenly people are saying, was last season Klopp or Slot really? And that kind of thing can fester. But we had to make it matter. And that's the thing, because in past seasons when there have been drop points, we haven't made it matter. We made it matter this weekend, and that is absolutely critical. So, Tim, the one thing that could have been a negative to this game, and I'm so glad it doesn't have to be, but I think we should discuss it, is if I'm Mikel Arteta, I can't think of how much better my life would be, but setting that aside, if I'm Mikel Arteta and I'm trying to think about how I want to rotate and manage my squad, I think I'm setting up my squad rotation philosophy around having my best players able to play the biggest game. William Saliba goes 90 against Port Vale, and then, according to Mikel, due to an ankle injury they're managing, is unable to start against Newcastle. And I have no problem with trusting Christian Mosquera, and actually I think Mosquera was largely okay with a few obvious notes to his performance. But Saliba not starting and Mosquera starting because Saliba went 90 in midweek would have probably been a big talking point had this not gone the way it was supposed to. And in fact, I think Clive sent me a note sort of saying, I don't want to have to talk about that. Well, now we don't have to talk about it too much. I think it's worth a mention, what you thought of that aspect of the lineup, and the bigger one probably, which is as a getting a start in midfield over maybe what's been deemed the more conservative selection of the guy who got us our equalizer.
Yeah, I think there are so many significant things about the team selection, the lineup and things like that. Like you say, Saliba for Mosquera, not a decision we could make last season because the player wasn't there to do it. We're 1-0 up with 20 minutes to go. Saka's off. Saka comes off. Again, wouldn't have happened last season. Even without Madueke, we made that decision. We had enough depth to make that decision. And by the way, Nwaneri couldn't even get on the bench. And we still had the personnel to say, okay, Martinelli's going on. Right, we've got that covered. That's a good player to come on.
Tim, think about it this way: how many players came on late in this game that started against Real Madrid and PSG last season? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Marino as well. We speculated on the journey up. Like I wondered whether he might play up front, whether he might start centre forward. I didn't think he'd start in midfield. But the other, really, probably the most significant is Eze starting in midfield. Because that shows you, I think, you could look at it one way. You could look at it as, was that an admission from Arteta that he should have done it last week or whatever? Or is it that he didn't respect Newcastle as much as Manchester City and Liverpool? Which I think would be a fair decision to take. They're not quite on that level. They're a very good team. It's one of the hardest places to go in terms of an away game. And Newcastle's top level performance is right up there with anyone's. The problem for them, they have to play at such intensity that they can't do that 60 times a season. But when they're at it and they're at their top level, Like, very few teams could live with them. They took Liverpool apart in the Carabao Cup final because it was the game of their lives, and they played it like the game of their lives, and they overpowered Liverpool. And they can do that to anyone. They just can't quite do it enough to, like, challenge for a title or something like that. But I think the Eze in midfield selection, that was much more... we don't rate you quite as much as we do Man City. We don't respect you quite as much as we do Man City. And, you know, maybe going back 2 years, the one time we did win at St James's Park, there's a few things. We selected Jorginho, head of Thomas Partey that day. And Arteta had that quote afterwards about, like, actually, we didn't want the game to be a fight because that's playing on Newcastle's terms. But also, I think the thing that Arsenal recognise is in the Newcastle games, first goal wins, usually. It didn't on this occasion, thankfully, but usually first goal wins. And what I saw from Arsenal was immediately I saw that intent. 2 big chances in the first half. How do they come about? Other than the penalty, because Eze's hanging around on the edge of the area and the ball drops to him. And perhaps Marino isn't hanging around there. Perhaps even Odegaard isn't hanging around there. If Rice is in the left 8, maybe he's not hanging around there, but Eze is. And he was very unfortunate not to score one of those, particularly the first one. I think like 80 times out of 100, that's a goal. And so
sensational save.
It is a really good save.
It reminded me of some Donnarumma saves too. Is that, you know,
it reminded me of that Odegaard one.
Odegaard, exact. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and
down to his left. Yeah,
and on a lot of other days we'd have been 1 or 2-0 up at half time, and I think that's what Arteta wanted. I think it was, this isn't Man City, Liverpool, where I'm thinking 0-0 at half time's okay, and we can edge it at the end. This is, we got to score first here, and we were unfortunate not to, through a mixture of good goalkeeping and bad refereeing. And then, but we had intent and personality from the beginning, and this was a very fair result because I think Arsenal dominated 95% of this game. I think other than the goal, Newcastle aren't really in this. They had one counter-attack with Jacob Murphy, with Declan Rice, who was absolutely outstanding in this game. Really kind of digs us out a little bit with some great defending, but I really saw intent and personality this time. I'm here for the argument, by the way, that some people might say, actually, maybe he learned a lesson from the Man City game or the Liverpool game or whatever. None of us really know, and I don't think that's a ridiculous assertion, but I think he just thought, let's take it to them, let's go ahead, let's dominate the story of this game. And actually that didn't happen, but in the end, we got there.
Yeah, I thought this was a great performance. And for people who want to say, well, you're going to criticize Liverpool for needing late winners, but we need a late winner. But the difference is, like, just use the Newcastle example. Liverpool against 10-man Newcastle got battered, lost the XG battle, got pegged back from a 2-goal lead and spared their blushes. This was 2 XG to 0.6 XG in Arsenal's favor. This was 69% possession, right? I believe is what it is. 63, pardon me, percent possession at St. James's Park, right? This was Arsenal getting 20 shots, battering them, really trying to break the door down. And by the way, not just game state, not just when it was 1-0 to Newcastle, but even before that. I do want to do a section on some of the important calls, including the penalty, but I don't want to do it before we've had a chance to kind of praise some of our play. And it was so interesting, Clive, seeing us play with Eze. I think it produced Gyokeres' best performance as an Arsenal player. I think Saka helped him. Some of the little layoffs he was doing, there was a beautiful move that led to Leo's shot off the bar, off the post, where I actually think he should have shot across the keeper or at least crossed it, but that's beside the point. It's a beautiful flowing move. It starts with Gyokeres holding the ball up, finding Saka. Saka goes central. Eze was finding him. I thought that dynamic, Clive, with Eze in midfield and the way he combined with Saka and Gyokeres was really, really exciting and encouraging. So do you want to talk a little bit about how his introduction into midfield changed some of the way we were building play and connecting with our striker?
Yeah, without wishing to sound like the manager, it's always more than one person that does this, right? And I think
But could you form your answer in the phrase your answer in the form of a praise for Eze for me?
Yeah. Well, he's going to get praise because he was very, very good. I think when we go to Newcastle normally, what we do is we have our very positional system with our 6 and 2 8s, and we progress in our little triangles, and we go to wide areas, and they know exactly where we're going, and they rush out to the wide areas, and they kick us to death, and they don't get booked for the first 6, and we get off the floor limping, and then They normally score. Then we keep doing the same things, and then they walk away with a 1-0 win, barely touching the ball. Right? So that's what normally happens. So what did we do different this time? Well, we had a lot more centrality, right? So we're building play, and we're dropping people deeper to lengthen the pitch. They're at home, right? So they come on to us, so we can go into wide areas, play out, much shallower. So into timber, play out, pop inside. And I kept looking at Trossard. I think, what are you doing in there, son? What are you doing in there? Stay wide, stay wide, stay wide. But really, it's Calafiori and Timber that was staying quite wide. Saka, Trossard, Eze, Gyokeres, absolutely, with Rice and Zubimendi, they crushed the middle. Where is Newcastle's strength? That midfield three, we could have named it 6 weeks ago. We knew it'd be ready for us, right? Where's Newcastle's strength? And what they're good at is they get out wide, and they help kill our main star boy, right? So now we've got them in the middle, and we dominated them in the middle by rat-a-tatting around them. And those big bodies couldn't catch us up. They couldn't catch up Rice. They couldn't catch up Zubimendi. Rotation was too great. And John McKenzie used a great word. He called it associative. Eze is more associative than Martinelli. He combines with other players better than Martinelli. Sometimes just a little pass into someone's path. Sometimes he creates room for shake and bake into someone's path. Sometimes he goes past Gyokeres as a centre forward. So he's more in sync with his teammates than a straight line runner like Madueke and Martinelli are. They give you something else, right? But we needed that extra associative player, and that was Trossard. Now you've got Trossard, Eze, Saka, who can all combine. Timber, Calafiori, they can all combine. So it's a combination play. And I have to say, because I get defensive sometimes when people say we don't attack zone 14 enough. I say, well, we don't, but we create from wide areas, and I support my team. Right? I argue it through. But when you look at the pass maps, we don't attack zone 14 enough. I haven't seen the pass maps for this game, but look where Eze's shots came from. They came from that central area right in zone 14. How many rat-a-tats did we have around those areas? How close in proximity were our bodies? And so our dynamic is not just changed by one player, it's changed by the game plan. And I felt Arteta was really smart. He didn't go wide. Well, he did go wide, but he didn't stay. That wasn't all we did. We went wide to come inside and really go down the middle. Look at Zubimendi dink over top to a fullback in the box to get a header. I mean, we are crushing the middle. We're attacking their strength and really affecting them. I thought it was a magnificent game plan, a magnificent performance. And in all the previews, I didn't think we'd go down their gut. I'm thinking, how can we get a goal? I did think Gyokeres should play because he's so important to stretching and holding a team. He was the first man over the top in that game. He was magnificent for bullying them around, attracting bodies in because they're dumb, they want to fight him, attracting bodies to him, which allows other people to roll off his shoulders and get into space and get shots because he attracts people to him. You know, and I think once referees work him out, he might get a few fouls, by the way. That needs to be really looked at. So Eze has maybe, by the way he plays 10, has maybe made a significant difference to how we look at the team because away from our positional on the V10, 8-10, if you see what I mean, rather than... But I do think it was a collective way we had Trossard, Saka, Eze, Gyokeres, all in that middle area, really affecting them. And let's be honest, how many shots did we get in those zones that we never normally get? And it was just brilliant performance, honestly, brilliant game plan. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I liked. Gyokeres had 6 shots in this game. That's what you want from your striker and from good zones. But why was he able to get them? This is a Premier League. You don't have time in zone 14 to take the ball, turn on the ball, look for a pass, play him behind. How many little flicks or dummies or little first-time balls around the corner does Eze play? And so the game just speeds up, and it speeds up, and that's when Gyokeres thrives because he's going to be on the run. He's going to make his moves early, and he's a little unlucky. He slips when he had a chance. He had a shot well blocked. He had the one that went wide for a corner that was stopped. And, you know, look, I know there are going to be some people that until your striker scores are going to be critical of him. I thought it was a fantastic game, both in hold-up, which I was told isn't his strength, and the way he combined with Saka was brilliant, and in his ability to attack the box and get shots off from dangerous zones. 6 shots. If he keeps doing that, I tell you what, he's going to have over 20 goals this season. I'll promise you that much. It just wasn't necessarily his day to find the back of the net today, but that'll come. And it is encouraging that when he had a proper 10, when he had Saka on the right, that you see more of the movement and the instinctive first-time passing. It was all starting to happen.
They were closer, Elliot.
Yeah, Clive.
They were closer. I think that's really
the distances,
key.
Exactly.
The proximity means that his runs were harder to see. When you're 15 miles away from him and you're banging a long ball, guess what a defender does? He drops off, wins the race, right? And your centre forward looks dumb. The proximity of that central group was what really allowed him to flourish.
Yeah, and a great example, by the way, of just that proximity leading to opportunities. Timber had one of our best chances of the game, the header when he gets him behind. Look at what that comes. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Timber gets him behind late 59th minute.
Zubimendi flick over the top.
Yes, Zubimendi. Yes, that's the one. Sorry, that's the one I'm thinking of. But it's the point, right, Clive? To your point, that they're all right there in that zone, playing instinctively first time, just speeds up the tempo. Really good. Sorry, my bad about that. Okay, so we do have to get to the sort of VAR of this and the decisions of this. It would be wrong not to get to that. So let's do that, and then we can get to some of the other performances, some of the goals, their goal, of course, our goal, some of the other big things that are in this game. I do think that Mikel said something that I really liked, because he knows what he's doing here. I'm getting the result late. He says, unbelievable feeling. That's what football is about in a team. When you get what you deserve right at the end, it's not a better feeling than that. And he's just saying that for his players, for his fans, for the media. This was one we deserved to win. We got what we deserved. And it's a little thumb in the eye to all the different ways that this game might have been analyzed. On the VAR decision, so let's start with our penalty being overturned. It is a great bit of play. Should mention Raya had a fantastic punch from a corner before that. Really strong, dominates his box. Eze plays the ball along to Saka. He wins it. And this is where sometimes you can get accused of looking for reasons to praise a player. But Gyokeres is on the sprint to get that back pass. He doesn't have to be. He gambles. It's striker's instinct, and he gets there first. Really, really good work from him to do that. He goes over Pope's knee. Now, Tim, the way it's explained is Pope gets a touch on it. Mm-hmm. And because he gets a touch on it, it can't be a foul. I don't understand that, because I'm old enough.
Nonsense.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when we were told William Saliba getting a touch on a headed ball in a simple contest in the air was still a penalty for heading. I think it was João Pedro. Was it João Pedro in that moment? Right. I'm old enough to remember that. And there's clips of Howard Webb going around saying the touch on the ball doesn't change that it's a foul. Mm-hmm. So this is a wrong decision. Now, look, I can almost live with the penalty not being given in real time and not being overturned. To Mikel's point, Mikel went very big when he was asked about it, about it's supposed to be clear and obvious error. He didn't talk about whether it's a penalty or not. Mm-hmm. And I think he made a really smart decision there. He talked about the standard being clear and obvious error. Because if you watched on NBC, and for anyone who's based somewhere or was using a stream somewhere where you could watch an NBC, the NBC comms had the VAR audio in their ear. Oh. And they said the VAR is trying to guide Jared Gillett to reversing his decision. And these are exact words. It's taking a long time here.
I didn't know this. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, if you listen to the Arscast, I actually think Andrew played the audio. I don't have the audio. So, of course, I'd encourage you to listen to a pod you've already listened to, no doubt. But the audio is Jared Gillett is being guided by the VAR, and it's taking a long time. They're trying to explain to him why it's not a penalty, which means to me that when Jared Gillett goes to the screen and looks, he's still not totally sure why that's not a penalty. Now, even if you want to say, well, letter of the law, this, that, you could make it not a penalty. Maybe you could make it not a penalty, but the decision's made on the pitch. It's not a clear and obvious error, and they've gone a long, long way to getting the referee on the pitch to change his decision. So, Tim, I can't come away with this feeling anything other than it is an injustice based on the standards as they've been set and based on the fact that if you foul a guy who might have gotten to the ball anyway for your touch, and then to your point in your voice note, they make it a drop ball for Newcastle, which doesn't make any sense at all. So, I mean, have I covered all the angles you see? What's the angle on this? I don't know. What's left to say?
Listen, I'm with you. I can live with that kind of not being given, not least because we still have the ball and the referee stopped the game. We could have still scored from there. Now, that isn't necessarily the referee's fault because he's given us a penalty. And then to your point, the VAR has decided to completely re-referee the game on a total minutiae, post hoc. Like, you'll always get this. There'll always be some like little kind of thing you can say. I think I heard something like Pope's foot didn't go into a forward motion or something. I really don't understand how that's at all relevant. That strikes me as post hoc re-litigation as well. And to your point, we heard all of that after the and like while this happens, there's going to be inconsistencies as well. While you try to retrograde everything like this, it's just going to lead to frustration. It's just not a clear and obvious error at all. I think it's a stick-on penalty. I think he's impeded on his way to goal in front of basically an open goal at an angle, but he's impeded. Knee hits knee. He's taken out. It's a penalty. And so to re-referee that moment, just like completely unnecessary. And yeah, I heard the audio. Andrew played it, and it's like, why are you letting the VAR guide you, and why is the VAR doing that in the first place? And even if they send him over to the screen, to your point, he watched it so many times, clearly not sure, like whether this is enforced or not. Clearly, there should be a limit. It's like, I thought it was a penalty in real time. I'll have a look at it. If it's not clear after like 2 reviews, why are you watching it 8 times? You rewatched it. Like, why are you doing that? Like, you saw it in real time. You've seen it 6, 7 times and still haven't changed your mind. Like, it's just nonsense. It's one of the things that happens away from home as well. I think at the Emirates that probably doesn't happen. It's probably just given, and it's one of those scenarios as well that you see at St James's Park a lot. You see it at a lot of ground. Well, not that many grounds actually. St James's Park is one. Anfield's probably another, where the crowd referees the game a little bit as well. Go and have a look at where the VAR camera is at St James's Park, not next to the dugout. It's in the thick of the Newcastle fans. So there's some maybe some positive reinforcement there. And it's just like it's a very it's just like a lack of personality from the referee as well. There's just no justification for spending that long on it, trying to come up with some post hoc hair's breadth, like, maybe the goalkeeper shaved his legs this morning, so it's like, I think everyone knows that kind of smells wrong, as it were. And actually, like, had a little look at my Twitter timeline at halftime, and most like neutrals seem to think that was nonsense to overturn it as well. Which but you're always going to get this with VAR. We're always going to veer backwards and forwards. And not to relitigate the VAR debate too much, I think this was quite foreseeable. It's always going to veer wildly between, oh my God, we're being criticised for being too interfering, so now we're going to do nothing. And then it will drift back to over-interfering. And what you'll probably get next week off the back of this is, what we've got to do now is just like, only if like someone's head's fallen off or something do we relitigate it. And then that won't be good enough. And you'll constantly get this veering backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I'm not against re-refereeing it. I want right decisions. I know that's a very American take on it, but like, to re-referee it, which we're told they're not supposed to do, to then not get the right decision is kind of like nobody wins in that case. Clive, what are your thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, well, they re-refereed they didn't re-referee. The referee didn't give a penalty against Gabriel, but then they wanted to check late in the game, right? So, and that's where VAR really helped out, because you could see a deflection. But again, did we need to go there in any which way or form? And I think Mikel was really good in this one. So rather than debate the decision, he debated the process. We've been held to a high bar. So why are we doing that? Why are we going there? Why are we spending the time? So you know what, Elliot? If the referee gives it a penalty, that's based on his opinion. And this is a subjective decision. So why are you introducing VAR? Now people are now trying to bring in things like forward motion, all the rest of it, and his foot being planted. Mate, how about knee to knee, stopping a striker going forward? As long as I've been playing football, I've been around football and watching football, if you kick someone in the knee and he's going the forward direction, he's going around the goalkeeper, 99 times out of 100, that's a penalty. Let's keep it simple, should we? Let's not be stupid, because this game's been around a while. Can we just do that? If you don't do that, you're bringing in suspicion. And there's a lot of smart people on Twitter can bring out pictures and comps and in about 3 minutes flat, and it's all in our timeline really, really quickly. They can do what they like when they choose to, and that's what it feels like. That's how it felt last season. It's probably the first time this year I thought, oh no, not again. Not again. Let's not do this again at Newcastle. Please, no. Pushing the back. Let's not do this. It must have been traumatic for people there, and it's traumatic for everyone around the world. We've seen it before, haven't we? We've seen this before. It's so triggering for everybody. That's why I'm so glad that we overcame it, right? So now we have something to hold on to, right? Which is not a bad luck story, but a positive one.
Clive, do you agree with me that it's almost in a way better? To win a game that you can now tell yourself this story. We don't have to let our heads drop every time a decision doesn't go our way. We can just come back and overturn it. I posted in the moment, yes, this is a travesty. Yes, it's an injustice. We've got 70 minutes to still go win the game. We're playing well enough, go win the game, and we did.
Yeah. Hey, look, it all worked out. But we did a lot of painful podcasts last season. Brighton, Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Brighton twice. Bournemouth. We're talking Man City kicking the ball away just for half time. You just ruined the game of the season. And then we're still getting critiqued for how we played that second half, by the way. People seem to have forgot we're down to 10 men, but let's not worry about that. Let's criticise Arsenal. And so those things from last year really hang around in our thought process. And let's be honest, it ruined the enjoyment for many Arsenal people last season. It did. It ruined the enjoyment, how we felt victimised. And whether that's right or wrong, we did feel that way. And when we went into Europe, funny enough, we felt a lot better about watching those European games because there was no sort of legacy feelings that we felt with referees. And they just refereed the two teams. Simple as that. It comes to a point when the referee in this game is not allowed to referee Liverpool, but he referees us, right? And so, I'm sorry, but people will always have questions about this, but we overcame it, and I think it's going to do wonders for our own self-belief.
Yeah, a couple of the other decisions, since we're on decisions, instead of taking them chronologically, Tim, I'll just ask you a few things. So there's the push. Gabriel pushes Voltemada, and I guess his hand sort of slips up to his face, and people are calling it a punch. I know that they have a reputation at Newcastle for being soft. I just didn't know they were that soft, I guess is what I would say. There is the handball shout on Gabby. That one's close.
Mm-hmm.
That one is close. Because the way handball is refereed right now, if your hand's in that unnatural position, you're making yourself bigger and the ball hits it, you expect penalty. But as it was explained to me at the time, and as I understand it, it's a deflection off him onto his arm, which nullifies it being a penalty. Whether you agree with that or not, I have come on this pod and said I don't want handballs like that to be a penalty. I think giving an 80% chance of a goal because someone comes flying in for a challenge and the ball deflects and hits their arm, like, what are we doing? So I've always believed not giving penalties and not giving red cards is less of an injustice than giving wrong penalties and wrong red cards, because those change the game fundamentally. So it was a heart and mouth moment for sure. Do you have anything to add on those incidents, which were, I think, the big incidents of the game?
Yeah, I have to say, in the interest of fairness, like, you're right, like the rule apparently is if it deflects onto your arm, then it can't be a penalty. I do have to say, I think that's a technicality in this scenario, because Gabriel's arm is right up and it probably stops the ball going towards goal. Like, I kind of think that should be a penalty, and it's almost a bit of legalese, isn't it? It's just like, and I understand why that caveat's in the regulations about the ball deflecting onto your hand. It's just the way it happens here. Like, the ball's going towards goal and his arm is way up, like I think that probably should be a penalty, to be honest. And we've probably not been lucky because it is within the rules. It's within the rules, but probably not the spirit of the law, as it were. So we'd probably get off on that with a technicality. The kind of the thing with is it Waltemada? I don't know how to pronounce his name. But probably a bit silly because he could have gone down and made a meal of it. But at the same time, I don't have a huge problem with it, to be honest. I think it's much of nothing, and I always like it when players do that thing afterwards where they complain about it loads, but go, but I don't like to complain about this type of thing. Like, I'm not that type of player. It's like, well, why are you talking about it then, mate? And again, like, let's reverse the roles, shall we? 2 seasons ago, we lost there 1-0. Jorginho really was bashed round the back of the head, and we had, I think, very, very legitimate claim for a red card. I think that is one of the worst decisions I've seen around Arsenal in the last 5 to 10 years, because it's such a clear case of violent conduct. What were we told for complaining about that? So, eat it.
Yeah, exactly. The other notable decisions, there's Gyokeres pulled down by his face. If you want to pick everything out, leave it. I'm fine. I don't care. The last one is the Gabby on Waltemada. I would say this. It's not a foul. It shouldn't. I don't want a goal disallowed for that. I think what Waltemada does is very clever, though. He doesn't push him down to get his leap. As Gabby's trying to back up to kind of get touch tight and feel him, he gives him just a little bit of a push as Gabby's trying to back to him. And it stops Gabby being able to close that distance. And then I do think Gabriel, realizing I'm in trouble here, goes down quite softly. I don't think it's a great look for Gabby. Yep.
It's what Nick Pope should have done to Saliba for the winner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he doesn't see
just
him.
A little, right. Just create the space. You create the space for yourself. Now, a keeper can do that. I think if Waltemada's push is more notable, then maybe it does chalk off the goal. But I think it's clever because it's not a push to generate his leap. It's a push to keep Gabby from being able to close space, and Gabby goes down. And there's no penalty or no foul worth disallowing goal for. There's just good center forward play to protect his space and get himself the space to leap. So I think on balance, when you talk about what's just, if you want that handball against Gabby given, you must have the penalty given for Gyokeres. And I think Arsenal, as we've shown, when we go 1 goal up in games, we go 2 goals, we go 3 goals, right? We're good at hitting teams that then have to come at you and be a little bit more adventurous. So I don't know. I think on balance, everything evened out the way it needed to. That's sort of my instinct here. But you know what? If other teams want to think we have PGMOL on our side, like, I'd love to have them on our side. Wouldn't that be amazing? Imagine living in that world. We've got so many good performances and moments still to get to, but I should tell you about some brands because at this point you've got to be, as they say, gagging for it, I would think. So we'll do that quickly. And then, Clive, I have a couple of things to ask you. But first, I will tell you that if you are trying to watch football, you're probably going to be on streams that are not exactly ideal for your computer or your tablet or things like that. And so you should use NordVPN because NordVPN has threat protection and will protect you. But the best thing about NordVPN is simply, this is the kind of weekend when you want to watch all the content. And to watch all the content, you need to watch geo-locked content. You want to watch the match review of the day show? This is the kind of day when you want to do it. You want to watch the videos of people getting worked up about Arsenal winning? You need Nord. You click where you want to browse. It lets you browse there. You can watch everything. It's an app. You put it on your phone or your tablet or whatever you say. I want to browse here. Done. Great speed, great threat protection, and we've got a great value. 4 bonus months on top of the great discount you get from NordVPN. And it's a 30-day risk-free trial. 4 bonus months and a discount on your plan. NordVPN.com/ArsenalVision. 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 Do it now. And finally, Indeed is the hiring platform that lets you go to one place and do all of your hiring. See, that's it. That's all you need. And I do think that hiring has gotten so bad because there's so much this website and that website and this algorithm and that algorithm. But with Indeed, you just go to one place, you attract, you interview, you hire, all there. And with sponsored posts, with sponsored job posts, your job jumps to the top of the list for the most qualified candidates. This is better for everybody because the candidates get connected to jobs that are right for them. which makes it a better hiring experience for them. And you get candidates that are right for you instead of just being spammed thousands of candidates that aren't good for the job you need. So this is good for hiring. This is good for people trying to get hired. It's just an improvement over a process that's been bad for a while. And right now, you can get a $50 sponsored job credit to upgrade your post at Indeed.com/vision. Get a $50 credit at Indeed.com/vision. Indeed.com/vision. Offer valid. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed Cloud. Is it enough of that?
Indeed.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So, do you want to add anything just quickly on the sort of bevy of controversial decisions? It feels like we make controversy out of almost every decision in a football match now, but overall, outside of the overturning of the penalty, I think of the others as sort of in the more standard category of what happens in a football match.
I sort of disagree slightly with Tim on the Gabriel one. I think it's just a big slide tackle crunch that he slid in and the ball bounced up. But the only thing I cared about was him getting to the ball first, which he did. And then, because at that moment of time, if it had took him out, I think I would have cried. And it bounced up. And to be honest, when you're sliding in, that is exactly where your hand should be, right? So, but I'm so glad. I am glad for VAR in that situation because the referee was forced to stop the game, even though he didn't give it, and then it showed it. And I thought, oh, thank God for that, because I don't think I'd have coped. Right, it had gone the other way. So yeah, all good.
Oh, good. Okay, so real quick on their goal, leading to it, Mosquera gives a corner away that doesn't need to be given under limited pressure. It's just a missed kick trying to go back to Raya. I don't think Mosquera did much wrong from a defending standpoint, but I do think in this game there was a little bit of safe and maybe a little bit of nervy distribution. I don't think he looked as comfortable on the ball as maybe Saliba does. So I don't know that he was subbed off at halftime so much because of a concern about his defending as much as just comfort and confidence on the ball, Clive. Yeah. So do you see it that way?
I think we're going to have to rewire our brains when it comes to how Mikel's using substitutions this year, because he's really using them. He's not taking risks with people because I think he's sick of getting to April and May and not having players in the right condition. If you just keep that line in your mind, then everything that we're watching is saying that. We are not taking risks with people. There's even the conversation pre the City game that Eze couldn't do 90, right? And so that's one of the reasons why he didn't start. I'm not going to stand on a hill with that, but I'm just saying to you, these decisions are being taken. Saka, look what we're doing with Saka this year. Tim said earlier on, this is not stuff we do normally, mate. We run him to the last minute if we're one down. We don't care, right? And so we're trying to learn. We're looking at people in the long term. Even the decision with Havertz, by the way, to get his knee up, that's a long term decision. That's not a short term decision. Short term, he's still out there, right? So I think there's different decisions there. I was a little bit surprised about Saliba because I thought he needed the game at Port Vale. I really think he needed it. But he had it. I think, yeah, you're ready now for James's Park. So to not see him there, I was a bit surprised. But Mosquera's a good player. So I wasn't too worried, but he did do you remember the old Tomiyasu back pass against City that De Bruyne ran onto? Yeah. It was like that. On your wrong foot, just wait for the ball to settle. Don't take it too early or hook it over your shoulder, safe side to the touchline. Later in the half, he hooked it out for a throw-in. Like, the message has got through. He's 21 years of age. Nothing to see here, mate. He's going to be a fantastic player. And we took him off. But you know what I look for? In the last goal, the whole bench emptied and Mosquera was in the huddle at the end. And I'm thinking, well, you're not crying. You're part of this. And you're playing for Arsenal Football Club in the biggest game in the world that day. You know, and so, yeah, it's a fantastic experience for him. And he won't do that again. And it's very, very simple. So, yeah, I thought Saliba, when he came in, I thought he had a magnificent game. And much like
he made a massive error his first involvement where Baltimore missed over the bar, but the flag apparently had gone up.
Yeah, gone up. But
and then he was
to be honest, when that happened, I was worried. I thought maybe he's not fit. And maybe we've gambled and thought, oh my God, he might have to come off. He looked so weird, didn't it? It took him a while to settle because, let's be honest, he went into Livramento and he couldn't quite slow down. And so they've clashed in the air. And I believe, I'm not sure at the time of recording, Livramento may have an ACL, right? And that's his second one in his career. Yeah. That's an absolute shame, right? So that's 2 ACLs in a week, one for Liverpool, one for Livramento. So I think that would be such a shame for him. So he didn't look quite right, but then he settled. And now our distribution was back. And now we got our back two back with Rice in front of them. Good luck with those three. Seriously. And we could then get 7 people into that last line and make substitutions that really attacked that last line and took over the game, because we had the big space coverage of Saliba and also the timely distribution. No one's as good as him, when it comes to passing out from the back, and we really needed him.
Gosh, you've sort of taught me this, Clive, though, but athletes they are creatures of habit. Center backs don't usually get subbed, period, unless there's been an injury. And I wonder how many times in his career William Saliba has come on as a sub in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard for a guy who's used to starting and getting a feel for the game as it heats up to come on at halftime of a fever pitch game like that and come to grips with the game right away, chasing it, needing to try to win it. So, I think there's a little bit of that too, right? Just coming into an unfamiliar environment as a player, that, like I said, I'd be curious to know how many substitute appearances Saliba has ever made.
I think he came on as a distributor as well. I think
Yes,
it was
absolutely.
Newcastle are 1-0 up. They're not going to come forward very much. We need your passing. It wasn't about Mosquera's defending. I don't think it was about Mosquera at all. It was, you're an 8 out of 10 defender. You've done very little wrong. We've got a 10 out of 10. And we need to move the ball sharpish very, very quickly. It was about Saliba, not Mosquera, and I think it was about him as a passer more than anything else.
So, Tim, we have another 10 out of 10 defender who is starting to really be a 10 out of 10 all over the pitch, and that's Jurrien Timber. You want to weigh in on him? Because this is just another game that makes you say, what on earth have we got in this player?
Yeah, I think on the Premier League Productions kind of broadcast, Ian Wright did a little bit of analysis on Jurrien Timber and the way he defends one-on-one. And it really made me think about it. It was like, you never see him go to ground. You always see him, because he's built like a boxer, isn't he? He's like a middleweight boxer, like all upper body strength. And what does he do? He's tight to you and you're not getting away from him. And he does that kind of, the thing that's so useful as well, he does that regain and retain thing. It's not, I'm going to smash you into the touchline and concede a throw-in. It's, I'm getting my body between you and the ball, you're not moving me, and I'll either get a foul because you'll be climbing all over my back, or I'll maneuver away. He does remind me of a boxer. Like, he's got that movement, he's got that low centre of gravity, dips his shoulder, gets his shoulder into you. There's no big tackles, there's no big actions. And the other thing I like is he engages people so high up. So he doesn't wait until the winger's in the penalty area and it's, if I touch you, then, Jared Gillett, whatever the hell his name is, pointing to the penalty spot, waving his Liverpool scarf. It's he gets you in the middle third. And I had a look at some of the data as well about how often Jurrien Timber wins the ball in the middle third of the pitch. So he pushes up on you and he doesn't let you get turned as a winger. And against someone like Anthony Gordon, that is so important as well, because if Gordon gets turned and faces you up, you could be in trouble, because Gordon's one of the best one-on-one wingers out there. Someone I think a lot of Arsenal fans would have been happy to see in red and white this season, but Timber doesn't let you do that. It's just, I'm in your shorts, and if you're gonna turn me, you have to go through me like a brick wall. And he's just so good at using his body and his physicality in a way that he's just so difficult to maneuver off the ball. And then he comes away with it, and he's happy coming into midfield as well. Like when he gets away from people, he doesn't just pin himself to the touchline and work the line and turn the game into a series of throw-ins. He'll run into midfield, get the ball there, and he'll get us out of trouble. And the biggest compliment I can pay him is that Ben White has been one of the highest performing Arsenal players for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And like I said about the Mosquera Saliba substitution, the same thing's going on at right back. Ben White is not getting in the team because he's done anything wrong. It's just the other guy you can't move him. And that's when you've got proper competition in your squad. Proper competition in the squad is not, this guy's underperforming, we're going to take him out. It's, I'd love to pick both of you, but I've got to choose one of you. And one of you's 10 out of 10 and one of you's 9 out of 10. And it's going to break my heart to leave one of you out. but I've got to. That's when you've got a really high-performing squad, and there are very few players more popular rather than Ben White, and Timber is absolutely there on merit. Like someone you go to war with. He reminds me of Lauren a lot, actually, and I think particularly in a game like this, not just against a player like Anthony Gordon. The way he defends is really good for the temperature of games like this, because it's not big tackles. It's not big slide tackles where you wind the crowd up and the referee buys into it. It's just, I'm moving you out the way, and that's it. And the temperature of the game comes down. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. Was on the podium for me last year for Player of the Season, and very early days, but he looks like he could be there again this season.
Yeah, I use the phrase warrior mindset on the instant reaction. He has that, and I think he's even upped his intensity this season. He seems so focused on improving his game in other parts of the pitch too. I mean, I think he was second in passes into the penalty area or something like that. Let me give you the stats on this. So from sort of more of a building play standpoint, Declan Rice had our most progressive passes. Timber had the second most at 8, tied with Zubamendi. He had the most passes into the penalty area by a lot, 6 passes in the penalty area. Next close was 2. So he's doing those things. He obviously had the header that could have been a goal. Really nice movement, really nice header that Clive mentioned, and then I mentioned again, and then again.
The other thing I'd like to mention as well, Clive was talking earlier about like what happened in this fixture last year. Saka, we got the ball to Saka 1,500 times out on the touchline, 3 guys around him. He smacks in a cross. Dan Burns says, "Thank you very much. That's going into orbit." And this time, look at where the penalty comes from. Look at where Saka is. Miles in. He's at centre forward. He's miles in from the line. And he took up those positions a lot. We didn't want Saka pinned to the touchline, getting his ankles wrapped by Livramento or whoever else. And that is also, you have to trust your fullback when you do that, because you're saying, you're looking after this whole touchline now because we want Saka inside as much as possible. And that, again, like, you have to be a special fullback to be able to do that.
Yeah. Clive, I have to say I am prone to hyperbole from time to time. So if I'm being hyperbolic here, let me know. I think this is one of the best games Declan Rice has ever played for us. He led us in touches. He led us in passes. He led us in final third entries. He recovered the ball beautifully, brilliantly in so many cases. There was the one, I mean, the really scary one was it Ramsey? Gets away. Jacob Murphy gets away. Pardon me. Behind, we have a central loss of possession. Bruno Guimaraes, to his credit, sees Murphy sprinting away. It's a great run from Murphy. It's a great pass from Bruno Guimaraes. And Declan Rice just does not let that lose us the game. He goes full Terminator, charges him down. He forces Murphy to cut back inside and then blocks the shot. And I feel like his superpower is that as other people are getting more fatigued, he seems like he's gaining energy. He also obviously delivered the cross from the short corner that leads to the equalizer for Marino. This was that performance from Rice that maybe we've been searching for this season, but haven't had. He might be a bit of a slow starter in seasons, but this was everything you want from that player.
Yeah. So when we first linked to him, I remember us playing Brentford with Ivan Toney up front, and they went long and they won all the seconds. And I think we might have drew the game in the end. They got an offside goal when they never drew the lines. Remember that one? And I think we drew the game, but it cost us a little bit. And I remember thinking, we need to control the momentum of the game in the centre of the park better. Who's the best at that? And it's this guy, Declan Rice. So what really I find funny when our Sky commentators are commentating on the game, and Tim, you may not have got this being in the ground, and you are saved and your brain is pure because you haven't had to listen to Gary Neville saying, Declan Rice needs to be let off the leash. He needs to be able to go forward. He needs to be able to go do this. And I just look around at the stats, and I'm looking around 105 touches first, 75 passes completed first, 17 line-breaking passes first, 260 metres carried first, 11.3 kilometres covered first. Just be quiet, son. You don't know what the game is, or what we're trying to do. If he can do all that stuff, that means somebody else is flourishing. Maybe one of our wingers or a centre forward or one of our 10s is flourishing, and he allows all that to happen. And so I find it I don't care about positions. I just care about the game plan and the game that's on offer and can we adapt to it. This is a perfect example of that. A perfect example. And he is so good in so many areas of the pitch that we can make those changes. And if he goes a wandering, then Timber drops in and stops everything. And whatever Tim said about Drew and Timber, can I just times it by 2? I just think he's, that's the next contract for me after Saka. Get that one done, please. Because he's 24 years of age and his timeline is perfectly aligned to the players that we have in our team. And he understands the contest of the game of football and what it requires. And that's why I think he's a perfect modern fullback. And Declan Rice is a perfect modern centre midfielder. Plays high, plays low, can carry in between, can long pass, short pass. And what I think he's really improved on, Elliot, is the way he receives the ball. When he first came, he was very close-bodied. He'd always go back where it's come from. Now he's receiving it on his back foot, left foot, opening out, first time, either running with it or it's flowing through him. He's been training technically. We all know he can move the ball with his feet, but now we've explored the angle around the set piece, free kicks. His ability to strike a ball is fantastic, whether it's moving or it's dead. And he can do a lot with it now. And he's using both feet a lot more. He's really developing as a player. And after Timber, we won't be long before we're looking at that contract again. And I think it's very important. I think he's still getting better. So positions I don't care about. What's in front of us? What do we need to do? Does he need to be on the pitch? Yes, most times it is yes. Can he get a rest? Well, you know what? He got a rest against Forest, didn't he? Rather than just play every single game, he got a rest against Forest, and he's able to be fresh for when it really, really counts. So again, squad management has been really, really good so far, even though everyone agrees with every single substitution or team selection.
I
think Mikel. Yeah, please. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just wanted to add really quickly, Clive. I know you tweeted it out, the clip of Joe Hart on MOTD2.
Yeah.
And he was talking about Rice appreciating the big moments. So he really slowed it down, like the short corner for the equaliser. And he said, you can see it wasn't the plan, but Rice could see that their defenders were not concentrating because they were so used to waiting 45 seconds. And Rice went, right, I'm going rogue. This is going in. And just like he talked about him appreciating those really big moments in the game.
Yeah, just like telling Marino, get back to the center circle, let's go win it. I mean, it really is a mentality thing.
Yeah.
I think it's as good a game as Mikel Arteta has coached. I think it's a fantastic game from Mikel Arteta. Navigating the emotion of it. I think, when we went behind, maybe heads dropped a little bit for a few moments there, and he gets him in at halftime, and he's got a team that's going to feel they were screwed by PGMOL. They didn't get what they deserve. They should be ahead on the balance of play. It comes out of halftime, brings Saliba on for some improved distribution. Then he's got to manage his way through a game we need to win, and he made big calls. First of all, taking Bukayo Saka off, that's a big call. But Bukayo Saka being fit for the rest of the season is more important than this game. And he brought guys on who we need to trust and should trust. Gabriel Martinelli has shown we can trust him as a sub. He was great, by the way, and I didn't mention it in the missed calls, but Gabby had a shot that went off, I think, Bruno Guimaraes' forearm that is just as much in that category of you've seen them given. But, he takes Saka off. That's a big call. He brings Marino on. I saw a lot of people having a moan about that, but he probably knew Newcastle were going to sink deeper and deeper. There's going to be more of a congested box. There's going to be more balls going into the box. Who can get me something in that situation? But the one that really changed the game, and Eddie Howe spoke on it, was Odegaard coming on. And he talked about Odegaard's quality, and Odegaard was absolutely sensational. That ball he plays to Miles Lewis-Skelly, I watched it again today. It takes out like 6 defenders, and Miles is unlucky. He slips a bit. His corner delivery for the winner is sensational. Just dropping in, grabbing the ball, bringing it forward, sparking off Eze too. And we found something there. It's a way we can play if we want Odegaard and Eze on the pitch together. Look, it's not FIFA. I'm not saying drop Zubamendi or drop Declan Rice and play 10s. I am saying that because that's what I want.
Elliot,
but
I got it. I know you. Eventually, in my mind, why can't Odegaard, Eze, and Saka play behind a striker? What's the big deal? They're footballers. Yeah, they will roll and move with each other. And to me,
well, Clive, Eze was playing basically as a 10 in this game. It wasn't a 4-3-3 really. I mean, it wasn't.
But I'm saying in the future, we had Trossard in this
right,
game.
so
why couldn't Eze play slightly tucked in onto the left with Calafiori doing that thing? We have this obsession to get somebody in there. If anything, what we learned from this game is actually, Martin, you can stay in there a bit longer, maybe. You know what I mean? And maybe trust other people to build up. In this game, we stuck him as almost like a quarterback and said, go do your thing, get on the ball.
Yeah.
There's a couple of passages of play there from Odegaard where he ducked inside of Dan Burn and clipped it across into Rice's stride. I mean, some of this stuff was just top level football, you know. And so yeah, I know I'm not one for first 11s, but I'm looking forward to the day when we have a front four diamond of Eze, Gyokeres, Saka, and Odegaard. And I want to see what people say then about Arsenal's ability to move the ball and be creative and create chances. Because I don't think it'd be a debate. I really don't.
Yeah, it just gives us so many different ways of playing. And Tim, like I said, I think Mikel just got it spot on. But the performance from Odegaard and the way we went after this game late, maybe there's been a sense that we don't create that kind of wave of pressure, but we sure did in this game. And you felt the dam could break. You felt it coming. That's what you want to see. Like, I feel a goal is coming. Can you create that kind of pressure? And we did. And Odegaard was a big, big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes, I say this a lot, but sometimes a player has to come out of the team for a little bit for you to, and then they come back in and you go, yeah, that's all the stuff that they do that we probably haven't seen for a couple of weeks. And I think the combination of him and Havertz have been really missed, or at least not having one of those players, because they do both sides of the game so well. And what we end up with in terms of trying to replace them is perhaps a player who does one side of what they do very, very well, but not both sides. But I think, particularly with our midfield at the moment, I'm so excited about it for the reasons you've just raised. Like, there's so many different things we can do with it, and it's a bit like sometimes I take my daughter to buy a toy or something, and she wants every toy in the shop, or or she doesn't know which toy to play with or something, and I'm just like, there's a long time. They'll all get played with. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, just pick one for now and you'll be in the mood for something else later. And it kind of feels like that. It feels like we've got a bit of a toy chest there. And it's a bit like, do I want the fire truck or the aeroplane? Like, what do I want to play with today? And we've got those choices. And we did it from the start as well today. Like we did, yesterday, we did something different starting Eze there. And the way that the manager has used the bench as well. How many times have substitutes scored this season? Like Martinelli, Marino coming off the bench in this game to score the equaliser. Like, that shows as well that's another role for him. We've been thinking about him. We were talking in pre-season, like, what's his role this season? And it's like, okay, in some of the biggest away games, perhaps where we don't have one of those big two-way players, he can be a role player there. But what did we see today? Bring him off the bench. We get a cross in. That's one more guy who can get his head on it. And he's really, really good at it. It's almost like bringing on a kind of second striker, almost literally. So there's just so many different configurations, both for starting and finishing games. And what I really like, and Clive and I were having a conversation about this earlier actually, is like, everyone's active, everyone's doing something. No one is an unused sub every single game. And the reason we're talking about that in the women's team at the moment, there are players who are unused subs every single game, and it's a discussion point. We've got all of these pieces and they're all playing, and sometimes they all come out. Zubamendi came out in this game, no problem. Rice didn't play against Forest, no problem. Nwaneri didn't get in the matchday squad, but when it came to Leeds and Forest at home, he came on. So there's different roles for all these players, and they're all active somehow. And that's going to be really important throughout the season, so that you can manage some of those moments. Like Marino was an unused sub against Leeds, right? And I don't imagine, like, that's one game against Leeds. But if there was a conversation after that, I imagine Arteta would have said something like, don't worry, there are games where you're going to be really important. And we've seen a few of them already. And maybe next week at home to West Ham, that all goes to plan. We win 5-0 or something. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we will. But if we did, he probably doesn't come on. And so it feels like everyone's involved. And even Mosquera, right? We've played him in a big game ahead of Saliba, even if he only played a half. It's like, we trusted you in a big, big moment. And I think all of that is really significant, particularly when you're looking medium to long term over a whole season.
Clive.
Oh, man, I couldn't agree more. I think it's another thing to think about in your mind is what is football, right? You're trying to manipulate space. You're trying to have the right players for the spaces that you want to attack. So a phrase I always use, it's important to have, like in Formula One, to have the right tyres on for the track conditions, right? So, and we ended the game with the right people on the pitch for a team that has dropped away completely. It was clear to me. We had the best players on the pitch for that scenario. If Saka could have gone 90, he would have been there. But Martinelli worked his backside off, right? So that's the key, having the right tools. So against Man City now, where we are trying to manipulate the space and go long, Mourinho worked for that scenario. But when he went out to the right wing and got trapped, he was the wrong player. When we go 1-0 down, he was the wrong player. What do? We change it. We bring on somebody else who's a bit more of an on-the-ball player. They drop away and we dominate the second half. You got to have the right tyres on at the right time for the right conditions. That's all we're trying to do. And so this is why I vehemently go against, although I do believe in psychological messages with team selections, right? But I don't fixate on it. So unless you understand what's going to be on offer. And I thought Newcastle, I thought we tricked them. I thought Eddie Howe is really good against us. Really good. He really sets up his team really, really well and has done over many, many years now. And Mikel Arteta tricked him. He tricked him and he flooded the middle. And he almost played a front two, Elliot. So you and Tim are saying Eze played in midfield. Was his unit, me and Tim talk about it, the women's team, Frida plays and she connects to the front, the centre forward. He played like her, Tim. He played like he connected to the centre forward rather than the centre midfielders. That was his unit. And he worked around Gyokeres and travelled a little bit across the line. I thought that dynamic was really, really good. Then I started to think ahead. I thought, could you imagine some games when we have Havertz as that second striker with Gyokeres running away? What would that do on a certain day to a certain team that maybe has a different certain dynamics? We just have so many options now. And at this time of the year, it's about using them all until we get to winning time. And much like PSG did last year, they selected their 11 and we all saw it coming over the hill. And no one debated it. It was that 11. And that's where we got to get to, in health, in condition. But when it really, really, when the medals are handed out, what shape are we in? Because over 5 years of Arteta, we have never been in shape when it really, really matters.
Don't look now, but we have more expected goals than Liverpool this season. We have the fewest expected goals allowed this season. We have the best expected goal difference this season. We have the second most goals scored, tied with Liverpool on 12. Only City have more. We have the fewest goals conceded, tied with Crystal Palace with 3. They sit third currently. We are 2 points off the top, and we look really good, and we have a lot of different ways to play the course. We have more clubs in our bag. And that is where Liverpool are going to be worried today, because there's no one coming in to solidify their midfield, at least till January. There's no one coming in to solidify them defensively. If they can't play Frimpong, Soboslai's not really a fullback. Carriquez doesn't look like he's working out. Is Robertson ready to run the course? Van Dijk's getting older. He got run a bit against Palace, that's for sure. Mateta had some chances there. They don't have a way to fix it. And we've played without Saka, and we played without Odegaard. We played without Saliba. We have the ways to fix it. We have the ways to handle it. We played without Kai Havertz. Mikel Arteta made a lot of big calls in this game. I think he got them all right, and he still doesn't have his full set of clubs at his disposal. And I realize full fitness is a myth, right? So I don't want to sit here and say when every player's fit. But you know what I loved? The togetherness. Because, Tim, it could be very easy for this group to fall apart. You guys have both been talking about it. He's kept everybody engaged. He's kept everybody involved. Ethan doesn't make the matchday squad. I'm sure he's frustrated. But when that goal goes in, look at the celebration. Guys in winter coats running up and hugging. You know, Mosquera, to the point that Clive made earlier. You know who I loved, whose celebration I think I loved the most? Gyokeres.
Oh,
Here's a guy who's just arrived.
Yeah, we'll say that. Sorry.
Here's a guy who's just arrived. Is he really part of the group? Is he aloof? Is he really part of it? Does he feel a part of it yet? You know, he didn't get his goal this game. Strikers want their goal. He seemed the most fired up. I thought he was going to choke Gabriel out.
Yeah.
That's how fired up he was to win. That's what I want to see. Togetherness from all the players, regardless of what it means for them right now. And this group is bought in. And if you want to criticize Mikel for certain things, he's there to be criticized. Those things are easy to see. But he has clearly been able to create an environment of players that will put everything on the line, not just for him, but for one another. Saliba again did his wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube-man arms, running off, went nuts for Gabby, loves him, fights for him. His new contract has been penned, apparently. So, Tim, that's the thing I took away. And I'm wondering, as you're there and the limbs are going with the fans and the limbs are going with the players, it felt like a moment of extreme, intense togetherness. And that is going to be necessary all season long to go achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just one thing I've never doubted in this group for a long time, probably since that summer 2021 where we really started, we really got busy with the squad. I've really felt that kind of togetherness, probably because I was thinking about it the other day as well. At the beginning of Arteta's reign, we're talking about players being bombed out, players being disciplined, stuff like that. Heard nothing about that for years. Nothing. None of the guys he's brought in, we've not heard anything about any of that, any sorts of problems whatsoever. And I really think you can feel that in the group. I think you feel it in the stadium. It's another thing Joe Hart mentioned actually in his analysis on MOTD2 when he was starting to talk about Declan Rice. He was saying one of the things I really admire about Arsenal is they stay focused at all times, and the amount that they run for each other. And obviously Declan Rice is the absolute prototype of that. And I'd add on to Rice's performance as well, by the way. We've taken off defenders the last 2 games when we've gone chasing games and gone to 3 defenders. And one of the reasons Arteta really feels he can do that is Rice will run back, as we saw with Jacob Murphy. And Jacob Murphy is a very fast player and he was streaking away. And it was down the other end to me, but I knew Rice was in control of that situation. I knew he wasn't diving in. I knew he'd catch him. And Rice is one of the reasons we can do that. One of the reasons we can take off someone like Zubimendi. It's just he'll handle it. He will control that area, and he'll allow all our ballers to go and get up the other end of the pitch. And you see that in this group. You really see it. Even in the bad performances, which have been few and far between. There have been maybe some that were a bit average, last season. I've never ever detected they weren't trying today, or they weren't at it today. I literally can't remember the last time I genuinely thought that had happened. And again, that's great people management. And I read something today as well, which I think came up in that. Who was the guy that Arteta did a talk with a couple of weeks ago? Steve Kerr, that's it, yeah. And look, the Telegraph have put it out, and they've put it out as a bit of bait, right? Oh. But there was something about Arteta said he'd brought in guys from the RAF to talk about communication, because the whole thinking is these are crisis communicators who get their message across very quickly under a lot of strain. And, Arteta always does these little things which people on the outside kind of ridicule because they're idiots. But I love the way he's always looking for those little kind of edges, and looking to learn from other walks of life, other sports sometimes. And I think all of that stuff really adds up. It just seems to me that he has a high emotional intelligence, and the fact that all these players just, are continue to commit to Arsenal, I think, even after hearing his message for quite a long time now, suggests that they are bought in. They're totally bought in on the manager.
Can I just add a little bit on that? When I went to watch training recently, what I realised then, that it's not just a football training, it's psychological training. The amount of things going on, you need to be really switched on. And the reason I bring that up is there was an interview with Eze at the weekend, and they spoke about his time at Arsenal, and he says, I'm being stretched in my mind. And I think we have to realise that I always say the same thing, all these guys can play, but can you stretch their minds to find the next phase of their football development? And they are bored of doing the same training drills. You need to be stimulated. And he is stimulating these young millionaires to further their careers. When they go to other sessions, they're just going through it because they can, right? They do hundreds of training sessions, 30,000 hours worth of training. It's before you even become a pro. So it's So how do you get to people? You have to get to people by keeping them on their toes psychologically, developing their minds, showing them how they can develop, having the nuances to their game that they need to improve. And when you look at a coach and he knows you that well and he working your mind out, you know what you do? If he knows me that well, I'm going to trust him. And when he tells me to run 5 yards to the left, I'm going to run 5 yards to the left to receive the ball and go from there. And then you got to stop at some point and say, by the way, when you're in this part of the pitch, do your thing. You know, and I think we can see that happening as well. We didn't just take the corner. We are getting to the edgy area and we are being inventive and creative. It's all about don't forget, he bought these players. You know what I mean? Sometimes you think, well, he's getting almost criticised for buying these players. Well, let's see him on the pitch and let's see what they can do. Because I can't wait to see the Fab Four together, whoever that is up front in the diamond. I can't wait. But when it's there, we can start to see who we are, right? So I do think it's a good day, right? Let's not go too far, but it's a really good day and a really good day for belief. And we tend to believe anyway, but I believe a little bit more today, that's for sure.
You have to win when you have the chance to close the gap. And it's that simple. And I'll just say, look, I think the reason Mikel gets criticized for the RAF stuff and the other stuff he does to motivate his players is simply this. We live in an age of cynical online trolls for whom any expression of genuine human connection and emotion must be ridiculed. You said you loved someone, you cried tears of joy, you got moved by something, ha ha. But you know what? Absolutely fuck that. Because what the hell are we doing if we don't love deeply and care deeply and cry tears of joy and laugh when we're happy and connect with one another and feel motivated by things that are designed to motivate? If you want to live in that cynical troll culture and be defined by it, you are entitled to. I would like to believe the reason we have any of this is because there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that don't, that are sick of that. It's dragging them down. It's breaking their heart. And so Mikel Arteta understands that 23-year-olds who are the most competitive humans on the planet aren't cynical online trolls. Look what they post on social media. Look what players post. They want to believe in sincerity and motivation, and they are the target audience for that stuff, and Mikel understands it. You know why? Because he's been there pretty recently. So unless you've been in a dressing room, unless you've been 23 and free of the cynicism that so many of us have heaped on us day to day, then you've got no place opining on this. And I'm sorry, but some journalist who hates Arsenal, whose most competitive thing they've ever done is won a darts game at their pub, who lives on Twitter because, to be fair, that it's important for their career, and that's what they think real humans believe. I can understand if you can't connect to Mikel Arteta. But you know what? The players do. The players do. As a final point on this, Tim, football for me isn't just about what Arsenal do. I have the capacity to enjoy many different things. Arsenal winning and everybody else losing. This weekend gave us that in spades. It starts with Manchester United being humiliated. But at least, Ruben Amorim never had an RAF team come speak to the players, right? Chelsea being humiliated. And that Liverpool game to me was like when the good guys find the plans to the Death Star. Because Liverpool had been getting away with it, Tim. And you could be like, oh, it's typical Arsenal, they're getting away with it. They were getting away with it. Giving up leads, getting run through, but finding late winners. And you could say that's character. Sure, it is. You could say it's their attacking quality. Sure, it is. But the problems that are there are real. And someone needed to put double barrels into that weak point, into that fault line, and break up the Death Star a bit. And Palace did it. They did it. And I think it can cause that chain reaction. So this was a fun weekend of great results across multiple dimensions, including João Palhinha taking his shirt off and going nuts at a home equalizer against Wolves. But how much did you enjoy that, the schadenfreude of it, but especially Liverpool finally paying a price for a way of playing that I think cannot carry them all the way this season?
Yeah, it did feel like it was about time. There are different types, it's very tempting to look at like late winners and just be like, oh, that's lucky. I mean, we've taken significant points in the last week with stoppage time goals. But there are different types of late winner, aren't there? Like when Liverpool got their late winner against Burnley, it's a bit like, well, yeah, that's happened because Liverpool have been in their penalty area for half an hour and the dam broke, as it were. Whereas when I look at Liverpool's like late winner against Newcastle, it's like that's a bit lucky, to be honest. That's kind of not dumb luck entirely, but like a bit fortunate. So there's been a few of those kind of things, I think, going on. And I think what was important about the victory for us beyond the 3 points is just that kind of belief. And it reminded me a lot of in the 2001-2 double season, we went to Anfield just before Christmas and we had a ridiculous red card. Some things never change. Gio Van Bronckhorst slipped over and got a second booking for diving. We got a penalty where Dudek took Freddie Ljungberg out on the goal line, didn't get a booking or anything, but we stuck it out and we won 2-1 with 10 men at Anfield. And there was something galvanising about the way, not just what we did, but the way we did it. And I do think if you're going to win the league, it's a marathon and all of that, but there are checkpoints, where maybe you hit 10 miles in under like an hour. You can tell I've never run a marathon, but you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, I've hit that checkpoint a little bit quicker. Like I think you need that psychologically. Like every title winning season has those games where you go, that's where, where players and fans alike would look back and go, that's where I started to believe. This is where I really believed. This is where I thought we were going to do it. And what I really hope is that we talk about this game a lot over the next few months. I really hope that, we're top of the league in January or something by, 15 points or whatever. Obviously that's not going to happen. And we go, the Newcastle game, that's where it turned. That's where I started to believe. That's where, and all of a sudden now we've come out 13 points out of 18 with a lot of players missing as well. And it's like, okay, we've got something to build on. It feels like a lily pad for the season. And we've got through this kind of tough run of fixtures. And now it's about mentally resetting as well, because we're going to face different types of game now. We're going to face like low blocks. We're going to have expectation. If we don't beat West Ham 5-0, it won't be good enough and all of that. And I feel like one of the things I would have said in the voice note, if I hadn't been several beers in and full of endorphins, was I feel like now what we need is some serenity. We need some 3 p.m. home games that are second to last on Match of the Day, that are difficult to get 70 minutes of podcasting out of for a few weeks. And it's almost like we need to go away from the public eye for a little bit, because we've been in it. We've been in the eye of the storm for a long time. And I think we've dealt with it reasonably well. And what I want now, I want us to win 3-0 on Wednesday night and to maybe leave on 87 minutes because I'm a bit bored, and to have that again against West Ham and then have that again in the next game. I want a series of games where I start looking at my phone towards the end of the match, and I feel like we've come through such a stormy period, and we're going to have to readjust to some very different challenges now, and we need to do that. We almost need to put this behind us, park it, and go right now. The season starts, and that's not easy. That's not something we can take for granted. But we're talking about winning the league. We've got to do it, and I believe this team can do that very much so.
Managers definitely chop up seasons into phases. And there's no question in my mind that Mikel drew a line after the Newcastle game and said that's phase 1 before we even started this season. Because you had St. James's Park, you had Anfield, you had Old Trafford, and you had City at home. And we needed to get a certain amount of points. I think preseason I said 14 would be fine. It's 13. It's still fine. And if you're saying, well, I don't understand, Arsenal get a late winner, why is it different? Liverpool conceded 2.9 expected goals against Palace. We haven't conceded 2.9 expected goals in over 2.5 years in any game, in any competition. All right. Yeah, we got a late winner at Newcastle. They got a late winner at Newcastle, having chucked a 2-goal lead to 10 men Newcastle. So my point isn't that our late winners don't, mean different things than theirs. My point is it's pretty clear that they have some issues and they could still go win the league. They're very, very good. I'm not saying they have issues they're going to get relegated. I'm saying that the issues that could hold them back are not ones that they are likely to be able to solve very easily right away. So now we do enter this period, Clive. It's Olympiacos in midweek. I'm glad we have a midweek game actually to kind of diffuse the emotion of Newcastle before we play West Ham, because West Ham at home, unfortunately, is a bit of a weird bogey fixture for us, and now they have a new manager bump. So what do you think? 13 points. This phase gone. You've seen what the competition looks like around us. I'm just going to say it at risk of looking dumb. I look at our squad and I look at how we play, and I really, really feel like it's our time now. It feels set up for us. But, you know, from one game to the next, you can look dumb saying things like that.
Yeah, you can. So from the very first game when Eze walked out, I had this weird feeling. And it just felt too joyous. And
Let it all work out.
I was struggling to not be overwhelmed by it all. And I tend to look at the season. As soon as we won at Old Trafford, I was jubilant because we didn't win there last year. And we didn't win at Newcastle last year. So as far as I'm concerned, that's us 5 points up. You know, and okay, we didn't beat City at home, but if you watched the City game last year, I remember at halftime, I didn't think we were going to win 5-1. And that was a lot closer game than we realised. We just executed late. It looked massive. So Liverpool away, we all know, we understand that, right? It was a moment in time. So I think with the Newcastle game and the Old Trafford game they're really important to me. West Ham at home. Well, again, a team that we don't beat at home, strangely enough. So that would be a big win if we get that for this Arsenal team. That's a big win. West Ham come to the Emirates with confidence, with a new manager. So I'm not dismissing it at all. And I think it'd be a very important win to sign off an international break for. Then we can reset. And I think Tim's absolutely right. We just need to be a bit boring, you know, just accumulate points and not keep losing a player every time we play a league game. That's what it felt like, you know. And I will stand on message to say, I don't think we're overly cautious. I think Liverpool, City and Arsenal are all cautious and respectful of each other. And all it was the TV didn't get the games they wanted. But you're not going to get those games that you want in the first phase of the season when players not integrated. They've all three clubs have made major signings. They're not integrated. They're not fit. You're not going to get the best games. You're going to get cautious games where hopefully both managers want to get out with a point. Liverpool stole 2 from us with a late winner. And City, we stole a goal from them late on to get the draw. So that's football. Early phase of football. Phase 1 of the season is nearly over. And the second international break is coming. We're going to have to watch Saka play 2 internationals, I'm afraid. So let's watch that space. Because Cole Palmer's not there. Noni Makeweke's not there. So let's see what happens. Hopefully we come back off the international break with a lot of healthy players. And we can really go hard until Christmas.
I love this team. I love this group of players we have. I love the diversity of characteristics it has. I love the ways it can play. I love the introduction of Eze and Zubamendi and Gyokeres and the difference there. But I love that we still have Martin Odegaard to come in and do what he did and Kai Havertz to come back and Declan Rice charging everybody down. It is beautiful. Bukayo Saka, his season barely gotten going. How good did he look? How good is he going to be? There are so many more levels for us to go to. And I feel for Noni Madueke coming out of the team just as this is happening. But the group is there. There is absolutely no doubt. And to the tedious Wara Trophy people who will tell you can't celebrate something until you celebrate the ultimate thing, they'll never get to feel like I did the last 24 hours. So it's their loss because it's been wonderful. I loved it. I hope you loved it. We will have a rewatch of it for sure. We will have an instant reaction on Wednesday to the Olympiacos game. And here's a great thing now, right? Ethan Nwaneri, not in the matchday squad. He's going to play Wednesday, some role, right? He just has the ability to bring these players in and trust them because they're all so good. We're in a really good position. Feel really good about it. Don't let anyone take it from you. And 2 fingers up to all the idiots whose hearts were broken. One of my favorite bits of audio going around, I don't watch Sky, obviously, but when we scored the winner and Peter Drury is doing his thing, Gary Neville just goes, oh. And you hear his heart breaking in real time. Gary, focus on your club. They might have a few issues to sort out. All right, let's leave it there. What a weekend. What a game. What a podcast. What a community. We love you, Tim. Thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure as always.
2 of my favorite things that happened this weekend. Tim's voice note from for the instant reaction, and Clive, who said he was too busy and wouldn't make the instant reaction, showing up unexpectedly, and the joy that brought on all our faces because he couldn't be held back. Thanks, Clive.
Thank you very much.
My name's Elliot Smith. Thanks for being here, everybody. We love you. And we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Olympiacos nil.